Day 3 of jury deliberations in the Ghislaine Maxwell sex trafficking trial. They resumed today in a federal courtroom in New York. We have Fox's Brian Yenes, who is joining us live from New York with the very latest. Brian, since we are waiting for this verdict, let's kind of take a step back and remember what this trial is all about and what Maxwell is facing at this time.
Well, yes. Look, the bottom line is that Ghislaine Maxwell, the former girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein, is being accused of being his partner in crime, the lady of the house, his madam, the person who not only recruited and groomed but enticed underage girls to be sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein, and in some cases by her too. She's accused of facilitating and participating in this abuse over the course of 10 years between 94 and 2004. We've heard from the prosecutors in this case that say that she was a sophisticated predator, somebody who knew exactly what she was doing. And, you know, ultimately this case really hinges for the prosecution on the testimony of the 4 accusers, 2 of which say that Maxwell groomed and recruited them for sexual abuse when they were just 14 years old. They are identified in court by pseudonyms Jane and Carolyn, and those are really, whether or not the jury believes them, will really, I think, end up being, is at the heart of this case. Now, for the defense has been saying all along that Ghislaine Maxwell is a scapegoat for Jeffrey Epstein, that Epstein killed himself in jail, and they're now taking those same sex trafficking charges and applying them to Maxwell unjustly. They believe, ultimately, they've been poking at inconsistencies in the testimonies that were made by some of these accusers back when they spoke with the FBI years ago, and they've been poking inconsistencies and they did that all throughout the trial to create reasonable doubt so that the jury could not believe exactly the testimony that they were hearing from them. They ultimately believed that Maxwell was a scapegoat and that she should be let free on all charges. This jury has been deliberating now for about 15 and a half hours. They have just released a note to the judge asking for more testimony from Epstein's manager of one of his homes, as well as from Jane, one of the main accusers in this case. And they've also let the judge know that they will not be coming to court tomorrow. There was some speculation that they may come to court tomorrow. They will not, so this case will move into next week. And so that'll be day 4 of deliberations.
Okay, so it will be pushed into next week. There's been a couple of questions by the jury, though, Brian, that make you suspect what the conversations are between all of the jurors. They are even asking for the transcripts of those accusers to take a second look at them. What were your thoughts when you heard of these questions that are being asked of the judge?
Yeah, you speak, you know, it's hard to look at one question and try to speculate entirely as to what the jury could be thinking. But experts could tell you, look, they're looking at the accusers' transcripts specifically, which is, you know, from some people will tell you that's pretty good for the prosecution, but for the defense side, they also asked for Carolyn, which is one of the main accusers, for the FBI notes from an interview that she did back in 2007. And that was a big sticking point for the defense because in that interview, Carolyn never mentioned Ghislaine Maxwell, and there were some inconsistent details there. So I think from that perspective, from the defense's perspective, they say, well, look, if you're looking into what Carolyn may have told the FBI and whether or not it doesn't mesh to what she just accusing them of Maxwell now, maybe that's a sign that perhaps they believe that there's some reasonable doubt there in believing this accuser. So we'll see. We'll see. Ultimately, though, you know, this was all about, from the defense's perspective, they said it was all about memory, money, and manipulation. They believe that these women were manipulated by civil attorneys to try to get money in these cases, and that over time that their memory has been altered about Ghislaine Maxwell's actual, her actual crimes in this case.
Yeah, but I mean, also money being motivated on the prosecution side and the defense side, saying that Ghislaine Maxwell was also motivated by money. I think it was like $30.7 million or something paid out.
$30 million. Yeah.
Paid out during the time period that is of essence for these accusers. So both sides, money is definitely a pertinent issue.
Yeah, no doubt. And the prosecution also brought up here, look, Ghislaine Maxwell, they're saying, look, she got paid $30 million to stay quiet, to because she was a partner in crime. And the defense looks at the money and says, well, look, like, you know, your accusers had motivation to go out there and to drum up these accusations because they were getting paid from the Victims' Compensation Fund. The prosecution says, why would these accusers come out in a criminal trial? They've already been paid. They have no motivation to come into court and to put themselves through this. They've already been paid, so money isn't a motivation. But we'll see. It only takes one juror to believe that there is some reasonable doubt for this to be not guilty charges or a hung jury for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, right, no doubt on that. Any last thoughts, Brian, as we head into what will be next week and day 4 of jury deliberations?
I just think when we start listening to about these 6 charges as an ambulance goes by, I apologize, I think the bottom line is that of these 6 main charges, there are 3 conspiracy charges that have a lesser charge of 5 years. And the burden of proof there is not nearly as much as it is for these 3 other charges that pretty much would mean that they believe that Ghislaine Maxwell knew that these girls were underage and knowingly trafficked them and recruited them. So I think ultimately whether or not she goes away for at any time or for 5 years, which is the conspiracy, or if she gets sentenced for the rest of her life, will be whether or not they truly believe that she knowingly knew these girls were underage and that there was enough proof to show that they were abused in the manner in which the accusers say they were.
Right, and a reminder that Maxwell did not testify in her own defense, so we didn't even get to hear from her in the courtroom, but she does face 70 years. So Fox's Brian Yennis reporting live for us in New York. I'm sure we'll talk to you again as this case continues.
Thank you.